The Volkswagen Racing Cup, second race of the weekend, final race of the weekend, in fact, for this always entertaining Tin Top Series, is just a minute or two away. The cars are out on their green flag lap, and after the shenanigans of the first race earlier on, we're anticipating a very entertaining second race as well. Simon Walton has inherited pole position by virtue of the partially reversed grid, with his son Owen alongside him. One of the championship contenders, in fact championship leader, Russell Joyce, is third on the grid, with Mark Wakefield, who put in a star turn in race one, fourth on the grid. Then the top two from race one, Rory Clark and Martin Depper, share the third row of the grid. Then Tony Prendergast, who just missed out on the grid reversal, he's seventh. Jeff Alden is eighth on the fourth row with him. Row five for Mark Steele and Richard Gilbert. And then just outside the top 10 is where we find Jeff Clark and Lewis Smith, who's had an up and down year, but will be looking to try and end his season, his weekend, on a high. Michael Jones and Jack Depper, who was a non-finisher in the previous race, they share the seventh row. Josh Coggan was also a retirement in spectacular fashion, spun out of the race lead coming out of Graham Hill Bend on lap one. And before that, Rob Allam had been up and over the barriers coming across at the start of the race. He hadn't even really crossed the start-finish line. That is where Rob Allam is. The car is not in showroom condition, but it is at least running, and he's going to start from the pit lane, it would seem. I'm not sure about Josh Coggan. I would assume that car was fixable. The DW Racing squad were having a good long look at it during the race, and they did get it out in the end for a few laps at the end of the race, so hopefully Coggan will make it out of there. So Martin Depper took the victory and sort of inherited the victory fairly easily in the end after Coggan's misstep at Graham Hill Bend, and was able to take a dominant ballast-free victory of 4.2 seconds margin over Rory Clark in second, also running with no ballast. Mark Wakefield was the man who was laden with ballast after a good performance last time out in the championship here at the Indy circuit a month or so ago, and he put in a really good drive actually from where did he start? Mark Wakefield 8th on the grid to finish third, so he had a really good race, and now we'll be looking to try and do the same, this time from third on the grid. Josh Coggan does not appear to be at the back of the grid, by the way, so sadly Josh, third in the championship coming into this weekend, will be a non-starter. Rob Allam was fourth in the championship as well, so early dramas for two of our championship contenders, which means that realistically it's between Owen Walton and Mark Wakefield now, who start second and fourth respectively. Getting ready to go racing then for the final time this weekend in the VW Racing Cup here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, with the pair of Waltons on the front row of the grid. Away they go. Simon Walton then from pole gets a lot of wheel spin. Owen Walton's alongside and ahead of him already on the run to Paddock Hill Bend, so Owen Walton then, the championship leader, will take the race lead into the first corner. Look at the start from Martin Depper, already alongside Mark Wakefield, and off into the gravel is going Richard Gilbert. Keep your foot down, Richard, you might just be able to get your way out. Yes, he has. Rejoins the track right in front of someone a little bit further down the order. That was scary. Thankfully, they avoided a collision on the exit to Paddock Hill Bend. As ever, a dramatic start to proceedings then in the VW Racing Cup, and there's still more action to come, I think, on cold tyres through Graham Hill Bend. Anything could happen. Tony Prendergast over the curb there, making a move in the midfield. It's the Waltons 1 and 2. Owen ahead of Simon, with Russell Joyce third, Wakefield fourth. Then it's Depper ahead of Clark then. So Depper, of course, started sixth. He's now fifth ahead of the Scottish driver. Then Tony Prendergast seventh. Jeff Alden is next. No, it's not. It's Lewis Smith next, in fact, because as we saw, Prendergast had lost a little bit of ground. Round the outside of Mark Wakefield, look, goes the Scirocco of Martin Depper. Success ballast or not, he's doing extremely well and has managed to simply drive round the outside of Mark Wakefield there. Not good news for Wakefield's championship hopes, this. He needs to try and pick up the pace, pick up a few more positions if he can in the near future, because the Waltons are pulling away, but actually Wakefield under pressure now from Rory Clark as they go into Sheen Curve for the first time. They're sort of pairing off now, the two Waltons debating the race lead. Then you've got Russell Joyce with the fired up and rapid Martin Depper on his tail already. They're fighting over third, and then the next two, Wakefield and Clark, well, actually they're slowly being joined by everybody else actually in the fight for fifth. So out of clearways and Clark Curve they come, and here we go, another move being made by Martin Depper, and the former British touring car racer and mini challenge star is now on the inside into Paddock Hill Bend and going through surely. Yes, he's got it. Martin Depper into third position, making this look very easy at the moment. So Depper on a real tear here. What can he do about those pesky Waltons out in front? Wakefield's lost another spot now. Look, Lewis Smith has gone past him, so now to 7th Wakefield. Not really the performance we expected out of Mark, but he's clearly struggling for pace now. He'll still be running some ballast in this race, of course, and it's clearly affecting him a little bit. Lewis Smith now tries to have a go at the similar Scirocco of Rory Clark, who is definitely running with success ballast. We know that after he finished second in race number 1. Thankfully, though, generally speaking, a cleaner start this time around than we had in the first race. Goes Lewis Smith then underneath the bridge, down Pilgrim's Drop, and Jeff Alden maybe about to lose place here to Tony Prendergast, who's got the inside into Hawthorne, but actually going much more speed into the corner from the outside, and Alden able to do just that and hangs on to what is 8th position at the moment. If I can, oh, look at the car bouncing around on the very stiff rear suspension. You always need the rear suspension to be set up stiffly on a short wheelbase front wheel drive car like this, because its natural tendency is to understeer, particularly through the tight corners, and so you need the rear suspension set up nice and stiff in order to help rotate the car. But that does make it a bit lively over the bumps and the curbs. Oh, Rory Clark on the inside of Russell Joyce into clearways. That didn't work, and now Lewis Smith gets a run on the pair of them, pulls to the outside, or tries to at least, as they cross the line. So forget pairing off, they're now in trios. There are 3 for the lead, 3 for 4th, and then another 3 further back. Look, Wakefield and Alden, as Rory Clark goes to the inside of Russell Joyce into Paddock Hill Bend in. Russell has to leave the door open for fear of making contact, but actually Clark is slower off the corner, so Lewis Smith gets alongside, albeit to the outside line. He'll sail it in there, try and hope that he finds some grip, and he has. He's even found a gap back in the line, and that was a really nice bit of driving there from Lewis Smith, round the outside through Druid's Corner, and into what is now 5th position. And in fact, he's now going up the inside of Russell Joyce, look in the background. So it looks as though Lewis Smith is going to go into 4th place. He was ahead at the end of Sector 1, and yes, he's made it stick. So Lewis Smith then looks to be the only man realistically that could maybe challenge Martin Depper here. So he'll want to get off up the road and catch Depper before he starts overtaking Waltons, because he's now on the tail of Walton the senior, Simon Walton, the pole-sitting car. Dropped down to 2nd at the first corner, and will now be trying to play rear gunner, realistically, to his son Owen. Clark's again up the inside of Russell Joyce. Mightily frustrating this for Rory Clark, because he's had a few goes at getting past Russell, and each time he's not only not been able to make the move stick, but he's actually ended up losing ground. This time, he forces the issue at Sheen Curve and does manage to make it work. So up one more spot into 5th place goes Rory Clark, despite the ballast on the car. Leaders then down to clearways, and Depper has a look at the inside there, but he wasn't really close enough to force that one. Gets a better exit from the corner, though. The Audi seems to be struggling here, and Simon Walton has got Martin Depper with his headlights ablaze right behind him. Walton will have to cover the inside line into Paddock Hill Bend. Depper goes to the outside. Very defensive driving there from Simon Walton. This is going to back them both up and allow Owen Walton to pull clear ever further at the front of the field. Is there a gap on the inside for Martin Depper? Yes, there is, and he's surely going to go ahead now under braking for Druid's Corner. Simon will try and hang tough around the outside, but he just can't do it. And so Martin Depper, remarkably, into 2nd place, and has still got just under 3/4 of the race to go to try and catch the race leader, who was only about 1.3 seconds ahead at the line. So the order is then Owen Walton leading. Now it's Martin Depper 2nd. 3rd is Simon Walton. 4th, Lewis Smith. 5th is Rory Clark, who's faster than anybody in the first sector, would you believe? So cars going well in this race that I didn't necessarily expect to be going all that strongly, but there you go. Down Pilgrim's Drop through Hawthorne. There is Rory Clark, the yellow machine. He's caught Lewis Smith now. So Smith 2 seconds behind Depper, and on the previous lap was only a 10th quicker. And now he's going to be going a bit slower because he's having to defend from Clark. He looks to get the switch back out of Westfield, and he's done it. Rory Clark's going to go through. So Rory Clark now into 4th spot. So I retract my statement about how Lewis Smith looked like maybe was the match for Martin Depper. Maybe it's going to be Rory Clark again, who is the thorn in Depper's side. Rory Clark was 2nd in race 1 earlier on this morning, so he's got form. We know he's a quick young driver. Martin Deppe, not the youngest driver on the grid, but one of the quickest, clearly. This race, the quickest, it would seem. He has the fastest lap after all. Back across the line they go, and look at the way that gap's come down. Another new fastest lap for Deppe at 38.9, was 9/10 quicker than Owen Walton, even with the overtake that he made. There is a car in the pit lane there. Who was that came in? It's Mark Steele. Mark Steele is in. He's been in for a lap, actually. Came in last time round. So back to the leaders then. Martin Deppe has caught Owen Walton. He's left himself about 2/3 of the race to try and pass Owen Walton. And he can sort of take his time because there's no immediate pressure from behind him. Obviously, because he set the fastest lap, he was quicker therefore than the likes of Rory Clark and Lewis Smith behind. There's Mark Steele in the pit lane. 22 car, unfortunately, in strife and appears to maybe be out of the race. Now Pilgrim's drop towards Hawthorne. Wind really starting to pick up now here at Brands Hatch. This might be possibly a slight weather change incoming. There are some dark clouds around. I don't think it's going to rain, hopefully, he says. Touching wood. Let's hope it stays dry because the racing so far today has been phenomenal in the dry conditions, and this race is boiling up nicely now because Martin Deppe is attacking for the race lead, and in the back, simultaneously, the other Scirocco is attacking the other Audi because Rory Clark is now with Simon Walton. Look, there you go. And then Lewis Smith in the 5th place Scirocco, getting ever closer too. So into the final corner then. Owen Walton defends the inside line. Deppe trying to get the switch back and get to the inside through Clark Curve, but he can't do it. Behind, Rory Clark's doing exactly the same thing to Owen Walton, and once again we're going to have a pair of side-by-side Scirocco's and Audis into Paddock Hill Bend. Rory Clark with his nose ahead for 3rd place into Paddock. Can't make it stick though. What about Deppe? He hasn't been able to take the lead away either, but he's looking to the inside into Druid. Clark is also up the inside though for 3rd position. I think he's going to make that one work, is he? The leaders almost lean on each other. What's going on for 3rd? Yes, Clark's got him. So Rory Clark into 3rd. Now, it's crucial for Clark that he catches Deppe before Martin gets past Owen Walton, which seems like it's fairly imminent. But if Clark can put in a real banzai qualifying lap here, he might just be able to get to Deppe in time. I think once Deppe gets past Owen Walton, that's probably the last we'll see of him. But the Rory Clark car in 3rd position is on a real tear. Look at this. So 2 seconds back from Deppe at the start of the lap, but he was half a second quicker in the 1st sector, even with the overtake. So Rory Clark is absolutely flying. Lewis Smith is now within touching distance of Walton, the senior. So this is really turning into a fantastic race, and Martin Deppe, can he get through quickly enough in the middle sector one of the times like? Deppe has looked to the outside, that was never likely to work. He does a 44.3, it's a 43.9 though for Clark, so another 4 tenths or so taken out of him. The gap therefore is down below a second now between 2nd and 3rd. Here we go again, into the last corner, defensive line for Walton. As long as he doesn't run wide on the exit though, that should work out okay. He has drifted a bit wide, but there's no way for Deppe through on the inside, and now look at this, Rory Clark is with them almost towards Paddock Hill Bend. Deppe's got one last chance to do this, and if he doesn't do it now, then he's going to have to start defending from Rory Clark, and he hasn't been able to do it into Paddock Hill Bend, but then the race leader runs out wide. Deppe over the curb, he's got the inside line, possibly towards Druid's corner, but no, I think Walton might be able to get across to cover it. Yes, just about. That was brilliant defensive driving, runs wide again though. Deppe's back alongside. That's the outside line for Graham Hill Bend though, and Rory Clark might be able to dive on the inside of him. Surely he's going to have a go at this. Deppe needs to try and close the door, runs out wide. Over the curbs for Deppe. Rory Clark is up the inside line for 2nd position. 3 cars, you could throw a pocket handkerchief over the lot of them into Surtees' corner. Can Rory Clark take 2nd place away from race 1 winner Martin Deppe? No, not through Surtees, and so they stay in the same order, but the more they trip over each other, the more cars could join in this battle, because Simon Walton and Lewis Smith, as you can see, are not that far behind, and in the 1st sector alone they took over half a second out of these 3. Well, this is proper VW Cup racing, and this is it could go either one of at least 3 ways. There's no doubt that Deppe seems to be the quicker of, well, certainly quicker than Owen Walton, and arguably in clean air quicker than Rory Clark, but he can't get that clean air. He's got the inside into Sheen. No, the Audi good through the high-speed corners, and Owen Walton is defending very well. He knows exactly where to place that car to keep the Scirocco behind him, And now you can see the problem that Deppa's got. He wants to attack, but if he ducks out of line to try and get a better exit out of the next corner, he leaves the door open for Rory Clark. See, again there, had to abort that move so as to be able to get to the inside line to cover second place off. The leader's going very tight into clearway, so Clark will be quicker off the corner than either of them, and he might get up the inside. They might even be 3 abreast. Oh, almost, but Rory Clark goes second, and Rory Clark might go for the race lead as well. Look at this phenomenal racing. Owen Walton, I think, will hang on to first position, but Clark is going for second place. Late on the brakes, over the bump in the braking zone to Paddock Hill Bend. Over the curb he goes. Deppa hangs tough around the outside. He might even go for the race lead. Deppa quicker off the corner than both of them. Gets his nose in front. Into the right-hand hairpin they go. Don't make contact. No, they leave each other plenty of room. Deppa trying to go right round the outside so that he's got the inside line for Graham Hill Bend. And this time I think Martin is going to go through. What about Rory Clark? He needs to be decisive here and follow the Scirocco through into second place, which it looks like he might do. He'll have to complete it at the next corner though, I think. And now Simon Walton is with them virtually. So it's now a Scirocco 1-2, but it is Rory Clark that has got into second. Martin Deppa, the race leader. Clark runs out a bit wide though. And actually that Audi's pretty pokey in a straight line, so it might be able to draw back ahead down Pilgrim's Drop. Still a quarter of the race, or third of the race to go in fact. And yeah, Clark does just about manage to complete the manoeuvre for second, or does he? Yeah, just about. But look, that's allowed Deppa to pull away now. Deppa in the first sector of this lap, 6/10 quicker than Rory Clark. But now we'll see a genuine look at their pace, because if Clark is able to close this gap on Deppa, obviously that means he's quicker. I realise that was a daft thing to say, but you know what I mean. So far, Deppa's always been sort of held up in traffic. We haven't really had a true indicator of which of these two is the fastest. In the middle sector, it is, as I said, Deppa that was quicker, but the final sector, I'd say Clark is maybe taking some time out of Martin here. Through Clearways and Clark Curve, what is the gap going to be between the top two? Across the line they go, 8 laps completed, and it is 0.6 of a second. But yeah, fastest final sector of anybody for Rory Clark, 4/10 faster than the leader. So maybe Rory is going to be able to do this. His car should be a little bit lighter, remember. There's the battle for third. Owen Walton, Simon Walton and Lewis Smith, who had dropped back a bit a lap or so ago, but he's with them once more. Graham Hill Bend is next, but on this occasion no one really close enough to make a move. But then Owen Walton locks up there, snatches the brake, runs a bit wide. Now Rory Clark, no doubt about it, is quicker in the first sector by 2/10. Indeed he is, and he's set the fastest speed through the speed trap of just under 95.5 miles an hour. So Rory Clark then, can he get the race victory? Runner-up in the championship last year was Rory, not done a full season campaign this year, but nor has Martin Deppa actually, so neither of them have a championship to worry about. They're just going for every point they can get, although in fairness, Deppa is within 40 points of the championship lead with 3 races to go, including this. So if he were to win this race and then maybe do the double at Donington, he might be able to do it. Someone's in the gravel. It's going to be one of the Waltons, if not both of them. There was a screech of tyres. Oh, well, there's the evidence. And who is in there? Lewis Smith is one of them, and Simon Walton is the other. Did Owen Walton survive that? Let's hope so. Simon Walton, though, and Lewis Smith both out of the race, and they are definitely in precarious positions, which means that we may get a safety car, so Rory Clark's going to have to get on with this now. Out of Clearways he goes, gets another good exit onto the pit straight. Trudging away is Lewis Smith, but the race leaders are side by side, and Rory Clark might have timed this to perfection. He's up the inside line to Paddock Hill Bend. They almost rub as they cross the start-finish line, and Rory Clark has done it, gets the lead away into the first corner. He was 73 1,000ths of a second behind at the line, and now he might lose the lead again, because with a perfect switchback manoeuvre, Martin Deppa has got the inside again into Druids and reclaims first position. Brilliant stuff this between the pair of them, and great respect being shown as well. No contact. Oh, what a shame. The red flag comes out. I sort of saw that coming, because there wasn't much point in throwing a safety car with less than 5 minutes to go, but that is still a mighty shame. It won't affect the result. Deppa will take the victory regardless, because he was ahead on the road and he was a lap ago, which is when the results are taken from. The results go back 1 lap when we get a red flag, and so it will be Martin Deppa victorious for the second time this weekend. But it's a shame that race had to be curtailed. Understandable as to why. Those two cars are obviously in a dangerous position and not that easy to recover. They would need at least a safety car, and if you threw a safety car, then we would finish the race on the safety car, because it would take at least 2 or 3 laps to clear those cars up. So yeah, it was the only option, but it's still disappointing. Of course it is, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And so Martin Deppa ends up the winner And, well, will he be able to clinch the championship maybe at Donington Park? It does look as though he might possibly be able to get himself into contention. 40 points back coming into the weekend, but a double race victory, obviously, is a nice points haul. You score 44 points for a win, plus 2 for pole and 2 for fastest lap. Deppe got the fastest lap in that race. Now here's a replay of, what was that all about? Simon Walton defending from Lewis Smith, locked up the brakes and just clattered straight into him. So, well, that was the screech of tyres I heard, and I think Lewis might be having a chat there, maybe, with Simon Walton. So that was a dramatic end to their race. There's Richard Gilbert, who had a dramatic start to his race with a gravelly sideways run through Paddock Hill Bend. Mark Wakefield wants to carry on racing and now comes into the pit lane. What are we going to see here? So, okay, so Simon Walton was on the grass. How he got there, I don't know, and then had dirt on his tyres. Oh, that makes more sense. So he'd had a moment, shall we say, coming out of Hawthorne. Whether it was self-inflicted or not, we can't tell, but ended up on the grass and then offline and with dirt on his tyres, was surprised when he couldn't stop the car into Westfield. So in the end result is they're both out of the race, and it brings about a red flag and an early victory celebration for Martin Deppe, who may not have hung on to the flag if it had run the full distance. Rory Clark put in a brilliant turn for second place, with Owen Walton third. Russell Joyce will be fourth. Tony Prendergast gets another top 5. Mark Wakefield, though, slightly disappointingly down in 6th. Jeff Alden and Jack Deppe 7th and 8th. Deppe, remember, started from the back of the grid. Good drive from him. Rob Gilbert and Rob Allen as well from the pit lane with half a car finishes in 10th position. Mark Jones is next ahead of Clark, and then that's it. Mark Steele was out, so 2, of course, Lewis Smith and Simon Walton.
Martin, a great win there. You must be pleased with that, although a little bit frustrated maybe at the end. Yeah, it was a really good win, that one, wasn't it? Coming from 6th place. Hard work with all that extra ballast on, but yeah, it was fast out the back. But I'd like to dedicate that to my mum, my dad, Melissa, Millie, Meg, Dan, watching at home. So yeah, it's fabulous to get 2 out of 2, and I think it's the first double podium of the season for VW Cup. Is it just frustrating when you finish with a red flag, or you just take it as it comes? No, Root was getting pretty feisty there, and with the extra weight, it was sort of slowing me down in places. So he was, you know, I was quite glad at the end to come there, because as you saw at the end, you know, he made a pass on me. I managed to get the cut back on him. That's what the grey hair's for, a little bit of experience. But yeah, whether it would have been able to hold him off for another couple of laps, well, who knows? I'd like to think not, but you never know. Root's a great driver. Well done. Thanks very much.
Good stuff then. So Martin Deppe, one of the nicest blokes you will ever hope to meet, and I know that's something that gets used to describe a lot of people, but that is genuinely true for Martin. Here are some highlights then of how he won his second race of the weekend. As he said, got his first double podium of the year. It was the pair of Waltons at the front of the field, with Owen ahead of Simon into the first corner, whilst Richard Gilbert did well to dig his way out of the gravel trap after a spectacular slide at the first turn. When he rejoined, though, he nearly got T-boned, but he did thankfully avoid contact. Mark Wakefield was getting stuck in the early stages, but would later fade down the order slightly. Rory Clark, though, was doing the opposite. He was charging through the field, trying to catch this man, Martin Deppe, before he got clean air at the front. He moved into second place eventually at Druids, up the inside of Simon Walton. Both of the Audi TTs seeming to struggle with their tyres. Unfortunately, out of the race in the pit lane was Mark Steele. And then we had a sensational 3-way fight for the lead between Owen Walton, Rory Clark and Martin Deppe. Clark was up the inside of Deppe into Paddock Hill Bend, the 3 of them showing great respect. Eventually, Deppe got the lead, got ahead of the 2 youngsters, with Rory Clark following him through. Simon Walton was off at Westfield, though. He tangled with Lewis Smith, the pair of them stuck in the gravel trap, and that brought about the red flag, allowing Martin Deppe to take a double race victory from Brands Hatch.